Joined now by former Cocalico football head coach Dave Gingrich. And Coach G, we've heard the news that Lampeter-Strasburg's head coach Coach Manion is retiring after 23 years. What are your thoughts when you hear Coach Manion and LS football? What you remember the most?
Well, first of all, 23 years as a head football coach now is just that's a monument. I know I did 16 as a head coach, 29 overall, and John has done, 23 as a head coach is a long time. You know, when John first took over, I remember the former coach, Greg Stein, and he took over for Greg. And, he really built that program. The program was good. It was okay. But what John has done the last 23 years is just remarkable in terms of not only wins and losses, but just, the kind of kids that he is provided leadership to, and as a great mentor to a lot of people.
You know, it's interesting. You might be more suited than most to talk about Coach Manion, because when he came in 1998, you were at Cocalico as an assistant, so you got to see kind of the beginnings of what he did with that program, and then you took over for Cocalico around 04, so then you guys were going head to head, and I believe it was in like Section 3 at first and then Section 2. So what was it like in the early stages of Coach Manion, as he came in to take over that LS program and you were at an established Cocalico program? What was the back and forth, the rivalry there between the teams like?
Well, we always had good games with them. We never played them in Section 3. So my first year, we were in 2004. We just went to Section 2. So when we started to play John again, that would have been, we did not play him my first 2 years. He was in 3, we were in 2, and then we picked them up as a non-league game. But if you go back to the 90s, I mean, LS always had good athletes. As long as I can remember from, I started in 91, they always had good athletes, but they always would find, they'd find a way to lose this game or find a way to lose that game, games that you really didn't think. And what John did was John just put a foundation together of, learning how to win, learning how to compete, fundamentals. Like they started to do things fundamentally on a more consistent basis.
So he wound up winning 4 section titles down in Section 3 and then 4 section titles in Section 2. So clearly he could win anywhere his teams were. When he finally did get up to Section 2 in Cocalico and LS and Mannheim Central and some of the other teams there would go at it, were the weeks against LS some of the weeks that you looked forward to? Did you dread those weeks? How was that?
John was, he had a great offensive mind. And in terms of, I think you love to play in big games and you love to play against good teams. Every now and then playing a game that you thought you had a good chance to win was nice. But with John, you just knew he was going to throw everything at you and the kitchen sink. He had a great offensive mind, and he started wing T, and then he evolved. He went spring wing T, gun option. He went to wing T shotgun, and then he evolved from there. But John just had a great imaginative offensive mind, and it created a lot of problems. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that he would find a way to expose you, and more times than not, he did that a lot to us. I mean, he just was he was a handful to prepare for. Let's put it that way.
Well, and then he gets Colin Bear Shank as a QB. What was it like facing those Pioneer teams?
We had 8 straight years of Shanks. So we had his older brother, Nate. His first start ever was against us. He went 4 years, and then we had Colin for 4 years. So 8 straight years of Shanks at quarterback. I was just very happy when Mama Shank didn't have any more Cubs, okay? Because those boys were really good. And then you could really see what John's offensive, when he had quarterbacks in there that could run and pass and do all the things that he likes to do, they were really, really tough.
All right, so we kind of fast forward to this past year, this 2020 year, this insanely confusing and challenging year with COVID-19, and Coach Manion winds up winning the section, winning the district. Just another great year to kind of wrap all things up for his career. What did you think of the way he handled himself in 2020?
Well, 2020 was a challenge for all football coaches, all coaches and kids. But John started off. It started badly for John in that he got COVID in July, or the end of June, July, somewhere in there. So in the middle of the summer, I think it was in July, he got sick. And I spoke to him then, and he told me a little bit about what was going on. So that they had just started working out, and then he gets sick. They get shut down for 2 weeks to come back, and it was already strange. And then you're off for 2 weeks. John, in addition to being a great offensive mind and a great leader, he always had great coaches around him, and they stayed. Like, his coaches were there for a long time, and they didn't miss a beat. I knew they would be very, very good this year just because of how good they were last year. And they were in the state semifinal last year, and they had a lot of kids returning. And you're not going to outcoach a John Manion. It's just not going to happen.
So he has 177 wins. You have 130 wins. Who do you think has more against each other?
Well, I would say that we're going to be pretty close. Now, I think in our head-to-head, we've only played each other 14 times. So it's going to be 7-7 or 8-6. So that's my guess, is 7-7 or 8-6. Either direction, don't know.
All right, I haven't looked it up, but I'll have to dig deep into that and do some research and find that out. And just off the top of my head, it is kind of ironic. His career ends in the state semis, and yours ended in the state semis. Isn't it interesting kind of how those paralleled each other? Two great coaches in the LL, and after long careers, they call it quits after the getting as far as the state semis?
Well, there's not too many places you can go after you've won a district championship and played in the state semifinal, then down. So maybe, I don't know. I mean, that was never my plan to leave after a championship. I kind of knew what I was going to do. And I think John, in speaking to him, it didn't matter. He was ready. I think his health, he is more of a health concern. And, you want to live long enough to see your kids grow old. And I think that's one of the things that, that sparked his decision to make the retirement.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, sharing some thoughts, and a longtime colleague of yours in the LL League, John Manion, calling it a career after 23 years.
Yeah, great guy, and I wish him the best.